All right, good job, everybody. If you've been sticking with me, we're on the last explore number 4 of tectonic plate interactions. If you take a look on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that the main question we're trying to address is what is the supercontinent cycle? That's what we're trying to address. All right, so let's go ahead and start our notes. Go ahead and draw your lines as always. All right, we're doing a Cornell note. That margin on the left is where you write notes to yourself. You write questions to quiz yourself related to your notes. I'm going to put today's date because I'm doing several videos on 9/24/23. Sorry about that. Our essential question: what is the supercontinent cycle? Think Pangea, if you will, right? A supercontinent, when all the continents are mushed together, all right? If we take a look at our text, clear that, we can see that they kind of give us an introduction. They talk about Pangea. About 300 million years ago, three continents dominated the planet's surface. And they kind of go into that, and I'm going to let you read that. And again, remember, read, please. Don't just copy my notes, okay? But I'm going to go down to the second paragraph here. Pangea began to break apart about 200 million years ago. As Pangea broke apart, the continents that we recognize today began to form. It happens to be that Pangea is the most recent supercontinent. We've had many more. And that's what is referred to as a supercontinent cycle. A cycle means that something has been happening cyclically over and over and over. So we've had many supercontinents, the most recent being Pangea. All right, so we'll go ahead and write down Roman numeral 1. I'm not sure that I want to write that into my notes quite yet, but you can see this picture of Pangea. You can see how South America fits nicely with Africa and North America, surprisingly. And take a look at the bottom. Antarctica, India, and Australia were actually connected down there at the bottom. All right, so let's go here. Roman numeral 1, supercontinent cycle. And green, the main idea here, a supercontinent forms when all the continents on the planet's surface merge into one massive landform. You should know that. Let's go ahead and say form when all the continents on a planet's surface merge. That means they join, merge together. In yellow, it is not the only supercontinent in Earth's history. And then you can see the detail here in red. Many scientists think that supercontinents follow a supercontinental cycle. So we'll say Pangea, the most recent, is not the first or only supercontinent. Continent. Many scientists think they form cyclically. Cyclically. I hope I spelled that correctly, but they happen over regularly. Regularly. All right. Now, here's an interesting point here, and you can see I've jumped down and highlighted evidence on land and under the ocean of these massive landforms is often poorly preserved. So even though we have this idea that we've gone through several supercontinent cycles, because of plate tectonics and the rock cycle, a lot of the lithosphere is recycled, and so a lot of the evidence is actually destroyed as rock subducts and it melts, and so a lot of our evidence is destroyed in that process. Evidence is poorly preserved due to tectonics and that rock cycle. A lot of our evidence is destroyed. Now, if we go on to our text and go to the second paragraph, the earliest evidence of a supercontinent dates to 3.1 billion years ago. All right, so let's go ahead and how do we want to, we'll make this capital B. Let's just call this the history. And under our history, we can say that the first one was called Valbara. Bet you haven't heard of that one. I probably have heard of it and forgot about it. Valbara, approximately 3.1 billion years ago, BYA, billion years ago. And that's when it formed, and it broke apart. It formed. And it broke apart about 2.8 billion years ago, broke apart. And that's important. I want you to understand that these things form and they break. They form and they break, all right? The next supercontinent, number 2, they call Rodinia. And this one formed about 1.1 billion years ago, formed. And it broke apart approximately 150 million years ago. MYA broke apart, okay? And if you need to write down what MYA means, write it down, million years ago. If you need to write down what BYA means, write it down, billion years ago, all right? And if we continue down our text, we can see that around, we're going to make this number 3, 600 million years ago, the supercontinent Pannotia formed. Whew, okay. Pannotia, approximately 600 million years ago. And it broke apart about 550 million years ago. We'll just say formed and broke, okay? Just to speed up our process here. And again, what is the point of this Explore number 4? Let's go back to our main question. What is a supercontinent cycle? It's this idea that the tectonic plates, the continents on the surface are moving, and sometimes they approach each other and form a supercontinent, one large landmass, and at other times they separate apart and break apart. But it happens over and over and over. And so far, these paragraphs have been talking about that. And So here we have a picture here, Rodinia. And you can kind of see names you're familiar with, like South China and South Africa and Siberia and Greenland, the South Pole, West Africa. You can see some of these pieces, but it certainly doesn't look like our map today, right? This is an example of a supercontinent, all right? And that is it. That was a pretty nice